This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it.
Just win, baby.
And welcome back to the Gold Jacket Podcast, proudly sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. I am one of your hosts, Gymnastic. You can find me on Twitter at Gold Jacket QBs. I am joined, as always, and he's not always joined by me, the other host of this show, Connor Donald. He can be found on Twitter at Connor10. We are proud members of the True North Fantasy Football Network. Make sure to check out the entire network on True North FFB, on Twitter, on YouTube, on the TNFF network, on the internet, truenorthffb.com. You know what? They're all up there in the top of our screen there. If you want to just read them out there, Instagram, True North FFB. You can find articles, rankings, podcast streams, and so much more, including 5 nights a week of live streams kicking off week 1. And you know, and I know that is only a matter of weeks away. But this week, we are continuing our training camp visits by heading out west to the NFC with San Francisco 49ers, the LA Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks. As always, we're going to dive into the four key fantasy positions and give you our personal takes on the situation for your fantasy assets for season long and dynasty. Wrapping it up by giving you our choices for gold and fool's gold. So let's just dive in. But first, Connor, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Just like you said, we are, 4 weeks away from kickoff, 4 weeks this Thursday from kickoff of the NFL regular season. My Philadelphia Eagles podcast, the Kelly Green Hour, is in full force starting last weekend. Ours is in full force. The True North Fantasy Football crew, I know I see Josh Smokey Hell Nelson in the comments there. Him and Will Harris are going to be back with their Monday night show. They kick off the 5 nights a week of streams and podcasts. So this is going to be just, oh man, I can't wait for this year. It's going to be a big year for True North. It's going to be a great year for football. And I can't wait, man. I'm ready to dive into the NFC West. Far from as sexy as some other divisions we've looked at, in my opinion, but still super pumped to check it out.
Absolutely. And Connor, Smoke's here to hear our take on the 49ers quarterback room. So why don't we dive in right there, my friend?
Absolutely. Definitely. We'll start with the quarterbacks, is always the most important position, as we know. Jimmy G is still in the picture, but Trey Lance is waiting in the wings. And if you believe what you saw in the preseason, he's looking pretty good. Jimmy G has struggled to stay healthy. He's missing 10 games with a high ankle sprain last year and tearing his ACL in 2018. In 2019, Jimmy G finishes one of the most efficient deep ball passers, top 5 in touchdowns, but did throw up the most interceptable and danger throws. He finished as a QB 15 that season. Lance provides the intrigue and upside, the nice mobility, something lacking for 49ers QBs who over the last 2 seasons as their QBs are 2 for in 2. They've only had less than 75 rushing yards in 2 seasons. So do you buy Jimmy Garoppolo as a starter? And how long do you think it is until Trey Lance actually gets to start?
So I got to actually just check out their schedule there to see when their bye week is. But man, Connor, I feel like I am the minority here on Trey Lance. Like, I know our boy Smoke loves him. I know our boy Dan Brown likes him, and he likes what he sees. But I just want to pump the brakes a bit. Yeah, he had that 80-yard TD after going 3-0 in preseason week 1 against my Chiefs. But outside that, the box score wasn't much to be desired. But again, we're not looking at the box score, especially in week 1. We just want to see what he brings to the table. And I'd like San Francisco to actually take what I call the Pat approach and let Lance sit for most of the year, learning the offense behind closed doors, let nobody see what he's actually learning, testing out some stuff. Let Jimmy roll out for 2021 and unleash Lance on the league in 2022 and give this kid some time to gel with Debo, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. Give him time to actually get that timing right on, because I feel like if he's going to play early, it's going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, because the fact that I see it is for 2021, I don't see Lance actually winning more games than Jimmy per se. Like you said, Jimmy was good on the deep ball. But I do like in Dynasty what Lance gives you with his legs. So for that reason, I am buying Lance for Dynasty. I probably think he ends up starting like week 6, week 7. But again, like I personally would like to see Trey Lance sit for like 17 weeks, throw him out the last game where it doesn't really matter. And just behind closed doors, get a little bit more confident every day. We're like working with the 1s and 2s, working with the 1s against that good San Francisco defense that could show him some things. Cause like, again, he is a rookie. He isn't even an established rookie like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, where they have a long list behind them on their resume of college production, where we know what they have, we know what they bring, we know exactly what you got to kind of tweak on, and they don't really need that much adjusting into the NFL level. Where I feel like Lance, not knocking small school guys, they can definitely make it. Look at Josh Allen, right? QB2, QB1, maybe, I don't know. But I would just like to see him sit, man. I think the NFL is getting too quick with their shiny toys. They want to see these young rookie quarterbacks produce fast, produce quick. I think that is not the exact right mentality, especially for a young quarterback, man. Like, they're not all built the same. Like, you need to be a star quarterback, you need to be able to forget those 3 and outs. You need to forget it when you throw those INTs and just like wipe the slate clean. Forget it. It's like, even at halftime, you're down by a touchdown. Like, forget it. It's 0-0 now, and go out there. And not a lot of all these guys have it, but I would like to see, like I said, I keep rambling about this, but I'd like to see Trey Lance sit. But for dynasty purposes, I'm buying him, not as the QB2 in some rookie drafts that are happening. I'm still taking Lawrence, Fields, and Mac Jones over him, but he's a good quarterback, man. And I do like that rushing upside that he brought.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for Dynasty, Trey Lance is definitely there. We know how much we like our mobile quarterbacks. We know how much we want them to be in the league and to succeed and to run the football, because it brings the best upside. But I do actually agree with you. I think that Trey Lance can sit. I think he can wait. I think a lot of people forget how good the San Francisco 49ers team is, but they were so plagued by injuries last year that people just don't even understand that Jimmy Garoppolo can probably take this 49ers team to the playoffs. And from there, who knows what could happen after that? Like, there's no reason to rush Trey Lance into this situation. But exactly like you said, they like their new shiny toys. They want to throw them right into the fire right away. And that's the best way to figure out if they're going to succeed, if they're going to work, if they're not going to work. Because if they fail in their first year as a rookie in the big league, then see you later, you're not working out kind of thing. Like, some people just aren't given the proper amount of time. You're 100% right in that. But Trey Lance, for me, definitely, he comes from a school where they work their asses off at the quarterback position. If you read stories about Trey Lance, Easton Stick, Carson Wentz, and their experiences there, that is probably one of the schools that will give you the most pro-ready quarterback, a small school at least, in all of college football. Because look what it has produced. Easton Stick came out. There was some hype there. He's probably not going to be anything. Carson Wentz came out. He suffered through the issue in Philadelphia, injuries, getting kicked to the side by Nick Foles in a Super Bowl. And then there's Trey Lance. Like, this school produces quality quarterbacks because they work their asses off. So if you ever get the opportunity to read about what they do, like, most of these guys show up to work at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and don't go home till like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. It all depends on the day and what they're working on. So it's definitely a school that will give you the most NFL-ready small school talent. So I agree with you on that point for sure on Trey Lance, and the mobility definitely does not hurt either.
But like you also said, I just want to say quick, like, Jimmy G isn't exactly the pitcher of health, so there is the possibility of him going down. But if San Francisco wants to play their cards right, again, they can cut Jimmy G for less than $2 million next year if he isn't working out and Trey Lance really is the deal. And again, like, that's cheap. No dead cap money. But like, another pro to this is he's still on contract. There's still teams in the NFL that would take Jimmy G. So like, putting him out for the year and spotlighting him, hopefully like for that tryout, giving him that next tryout where you can potentially ship him, trade him to get anything out of him. If you do really believe Trey Lance is the future, which I think it is. So like, why not up your trade value with Jimmy G as much as you can, as long as he stays healthy.
100%. I definitely agree with you there, but they're exactly the dead money there. There's no reason to rush. Obviously, we know someone's going to get injured. It always happens. So the inevitable situations are going to come, and you never know who might come knocking and what they might be willing to offer if they think that they can win with them. So that is our first stop in San Francisco. Let's move on to the LA Rams. A really intriguing situation at the quarterback position. Out with McVay's robot, I call him. And that, of course, is Jared Goff. And in with an actual quarterback in LA, Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford has suffered year over year with the constantly rebuilding Detroit Lions, but managed in the last 12 seasons to be a QB1 in 6 seasons. Unfortunately, the last time he did that was 2017, but the Lions haven't really exactly given him anything to be a fantasy asset with. He's also eclipsed 300 PPR points 8 times in those 12 seasons. Although he lacks the rushing upside of a must-own fantasy quarterback, he has weapons galore at the wide receiver and tight end position to eclipse those 4,000 yards for the 9th time in his career. Do you believe Stafford is being overrated, underrated, or just right in your eyes?
Woo, man, who else was excited to see the Stafford and McVay? I mean, when the deal was done, I was like, McVay, more like Oy vey. Right now, I'm just kidding. But man, if Jared Goff in 2019 was able to bring Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods to PPR finishes of wide receiver 4 and 14, just imagine what they're going to do with the gunslinger. Now, as we were all hyped for Cam Akers and Matt Stafford probably having the first complete offense that he's ever going to roll with a good rushing attack. Down goes Akers, and back again is another franchise relying on the arm of a former number 1 overall pick. Hopefully this franchise doesn't break his back into the ground throwing the passes, but I do expect them to be passing a lot, man, because now with Cam Akers out, also on top of the fact that Sean McVay and the Rams have last 2 seasons thrown 632 and 590 pass attempts, add in an extra game in there now. I actually see no way in hell he sees under 650 pass attempts there with the extra game with no real running support. I don't get either, too, like why guys are drafting. Man, if you think Daryl Henderson is going to be Cam Akers, why did they draft Cam Akers is my argument to you then. If you think he was going to be the same guy, why the fuck did they draft Cam Akers? He's not. He's not even going to be 70% of the guy. That's going to be an RBBC that's going to be buoyed on the back of Matty Stafford throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp, to Robert Woods, to Van Jefferson in there, Gerald Everett. You name him, man. Like, he's going to be tossing that pigskin around, man. And I like it. I really, really like it for people that were grabbing Stafford earlier on at QB startup rate of 15. Yeah, I think he's going a little bit undervalued considering I have him as QB 10. I keep tweaking with the points a little bit, but I ended up finishing off with 371 PPR points, 5,000 passing yards, 35 TDs, and 14 INTs. Maybe 16 INTs. Yeah, 16 INTs. But like in dynasty startups, he's going after guys like the aforementioned Trey Lance, who's never taken a snap, and not knocking him in dynasty startups, but we know what we have in Stafford, and he's finally got 2 awesome wide receivers who Jared Goff made fantasy relevant. Jalen Hurts is going before him. Deshaun Watson's still going before him in dynasty startups. I think both of those are mistakes, to be honest with you. I'd much rather have Matt Stafford as my QB1 throwing the ball there. But what do you think? You think I'm going crazy with that, or?
No. I mean, I think he has thrown for 5,000 yards once in his career. So, I mean, it's not unrealistic to expect, that there's that potential there, especially with the weapons he has. Like you said, Van Jefferson's there. You got Deshaun Jackson. I mean, Tutu Atwell, he's a weapon. These are weapons. Deshaun Jackson and Tutu Atwell are weapons for him. Who can produce yardage for him? Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I mean, you got Tyler Higby, who, yes, you still, Tyler Higby is Tyler Higby. And then you got maybe Jacob Harris. You got so many weapons. He's got so many just weapons.
I didn't
call
even
him
touch on
weapons.
Jacob Harris. He's awesome.
Exactly, and we're gonna get to touch on him because he's a tight end, so we'll get to him. But definitely, no, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that he throws for 5,000 yards. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that he gets to be a top 10 quarterback. I definitely agree with you 100% in that regards, and I think
I'm liking Craig here. 5K easy if he plays all 17. I like
the best
Craig,
way to say it is he's got to play all 17 games or 16 or whatever for your fantasy relevancy.
Well, if he doesn't, that entire ship's tanking because, like, come on, man. John Wolford is not the tide that rises ships.
No, certainly not. He's the dream, he's a surprise story, the inspiration, but he's definitely not taking the Rams very far. But no, I definitely agree with you on that point. I think Matt Stafford going at QB 15, I get it. He's 33 years old. He's had his injuries, but people don't realize he's played through a lot of those injuries. He's still completed a lot of seasons with those injuries. So he is a machine who will keep playing. And if he knows that this team's doing good, if he breaks something in his back, he would damn well go back out on that field and play if he knows that this team is worth something. Exactly. So I agree with you on that, friend. Like QB 15 in startups almost seems like he's kind of being underrated because I can see
Detroit has ended careers.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. They definitely have ended careers. Jared Goff could be the next one to have his career ended. So I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But next up, we'll head into Arizona.
Yep.
We'll head to another quarterback that people are infatuated with, and that is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray burst onto the scene in 2019 as that mobile gunslinging quarterback you had to own. He was a QB9 in 2019, QB4 in 2020. He's posted 21 plus points in 13 of 16 games and being a QB1 in 11 of 16 weeks. He ranked 7th in points per dropback and also gives you the outstanding mobility rank in top 5 across the board among quarterbacks, including in the all-important red zone carries number 3, number 2 in rushing yards, and number 2 in touchdowns. Was 2020 the ceiling for Kyler Murray? Are you drafting Murray and his upside in the Air Kingsbury offense, which has eclipsed 550 pass attempts in his first 2 seasons as quarterback?
Do I think we're drafting Kyler Murray at his ceiling? I want to keep this short and sweet, man. Prior to this week, I would have said yes, but after crunching the numbers, I would say no. There is still room to grow. He has an immense rushing upside. That RB room is that we're going to touch on. So I think he's going to continue to command some of that rushing work, especially in the red zone. And I think he can grow as far as maybe QB3. I think this year, though, we'll see the full Kyler Kingsbury offense into full effect. So, no, I don't. I think he still has definitely room to grow. But people are drafting him as like QB3 too in some startups too. Like I've seen him go immediately after Mahomes and Allen.
I just feel like I have to see more in the passing game and more than just DeAndre Hopkins in order to have faith that he can be a QB2 or a QB1. Like, look at what Josh Allen did. Look at what Patrick Mahomes does. Look at what Lamar Jackson does. Look at these guys who can get there, who have been there, and that's my issue with Kyler Murray. Can he get there? Because he can't do it on the back of himself and DeAndre Hopkins. He has to be able to use some of these other weapons. And we're going to dig into some of these wide receivers, like you said, the tight end room, if whatever exists of the tight end room.
Found out they had 2.
Exactly. We just found out there's 2 vying for 10 targets next season. But yeah, we'll definitely dig into that. But for me, Kyler Murray, I got to see more from the passing side of it. And I mean, I don't know if they did him any justice with AJ Green and Rondale Moore, but we'll dive into that going forward as well. Short and sweet on Kyler Murray. He's probably a good guy to own in the top 5 of quarterbacks. Off to Seattle. This one is a fun one. This is one we can throw some jabs at. Russell Wilson has been in the league for 9 seasons now and has yet to miss a game or not finish as a QB1. The last time he finished outside of the top 10 was in his rookie season. Unfortunately, he tends to drop the old disappearing actor in the back stretch of seasons and in the fantasy playoff times. In 2020, from week 10 on, he finished as a QB1 one time. In 2019, from week 10 on, he finished as a QB1 two times. Can you buy into a QB who is almost a guarantee to be a QB1 at the end of the season, but disappears for you when it's time to bring home that money?
Well, he did the complete yo-yo flip, eh? I mean, like, we talk about the disappearing acts for Russell Wilson. Before, it used to be Russell Wilson doesn't cook in the beginning of the year. Then he cooks at the end. Now it was he cooks at the beginning of the year with DK and Tyler, and then defense has figured him out with just going deep, and you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm still buying him because at the end of the day, So, yeah, I'm definitely buying them. I always have a backup plan and contingency plan though, because I do expect him to go on a cold streak at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're gonna sit here and the community is going to say that, well, we all know he cooks, but we all know we're gonna sad and what Russell Wilson's doing there, right? Like, just because if you're going to believe in the pieces, you got a guy giving him the ball. I have no idea what's going on with my thing. Is there a storm coming in here? I have no clue. But yeah, I have him in my top, and I have him projected in my QB1 too, right? So he's QB6 for me right now. So yeah, I definitely believe in him. He might disappear at some points. I hope the guy's not in the championships and not before getting me there. I hope it's early on in the season if he's going to have any issues at all, because I want to see him cook when it counts. That's for sure.
So you feel comfortable drafting him as his current FFPC ADP of QB9?
Yes. I have him finishing ahead of QB9. So yes.
You can definitely get some contingency plans later on, especially when you're looking at, like some of the rookie quarterbacks, maybe the Tuas of the world, the Carson Wentzes of the world. You can definitely find some pretty good contingency plans later on, or, if you draft him as your first quarterback. But I mean, he kind of takes away the element of the super flex, because at a certain point, when do you stop playing? When do you stop trusting him? Or is he not going to do that and you're going to sit him and then he's going to blow up when you think he's not going to? That's the thing with Russell Wilson, but he does present, despite his fighting over his O-line situations, he does present the upside from a bit from the rushing side a little bit, and from the passing side. We definitely have seen it with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and his ability to make those two guys as wide receiver 1 and 2. So I definitely like Russell Wilson as well. I think you can't go wrong at QB9. He can get you there, but be prepared to have the contingency plan to potentially get you the rest of the way. So it's time. Gold and fool's gold for the quarterback.
You're Taysom Hill, you say?
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, that could be that. We do love gold here. So with that in mind, who's your gold and who's your gold fool's gold?
My gold for me is going to be Matt Stafford. I think this guy's going to go fucking ape shit this year with Sean McVay. Everybody is excited about the McVay offense with Jared Goff. You better be excited now, man, with an actual QB gunslinger and no backup plan, but just throwing that ball around him. Like, seriously, you think Daryl Henderson and what's his name, Jake Funk Railroad, and Xavier Jones are going to be handling 20? They're going to be handling 20 touches a game? Like, oh my god, maybe, but like, I hope not.
What about fool's gold?
My fool's gold is going to be that guy we talked about first, Trey Lance. Only because I don't think he plays the whole season. And if guys, like I've been seeing them draft him as their QB1 or even like their super flex filling QB as their QB2, hope you got a backup plan through like weeks 1 through 6 or until he starts, because I don't think he's starting early. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from a redraft perspective or season-long perspective, Trey Lance is definitely potentially your fool's gold there. I definitely see very little possibility of him being on the field week 1, at least from week 1 onward. My gold is going to be
look at
Kyler.
the dip that Tua took.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Let's
definitely.
look at the dip that Tua took.
Definitely.
He's
no,
not
I
even
can
in, like, you know.
I definitely see it. Yeah, my gold is going to be Kyler Murray because I think that no matter what, I think you can expect a top 5 finish from Kyler Murray. I don't think there's many people who are competing up at the top. I mean, you got maybe 6 quarterbacks, max 7 quarterbacks competing for almost a sure thing top 5 finish. And I think Kyler Murray is one of those guys who will give you that top 5 finish. And no matter what you invest, you might be investing right at his ceiling, or you might be investing just below it, but you're investing right around the point that you need to invest in him. Fool's gold for me is going to be, I think I'm going to go season long. It's got to be Trey Lance. I think for season long, it's got to be Trey Lance. If we're looking from any other perspective, it's kind of tough to decide because it would be probably between Matt Stafford and Russell Wilson based solely on their age. And I think it would be more Matt Stafford based on he's got a really good situation, but he's got the injury history. And, you got to draft him at QB 15 when there's other guys who you could take the risk on who are going to be younger and who would cost you less from that perspective. So from a season-long perspective, Trey Lance. From a dynasty perspective, I'm going to go Matt Stafford on that one. But onward and upward to the second most important position, and that is the running back position. We'll start again in San Francisco. In the last 2 seasons, the 49ers running backs have ranked top 5 in overall fantasy production, but haven't produced a top 24 running back. Injuries have been a problem, and Shanahan's love to utilize multiple running backs in his system has also created a bit of an issue. In 6 years under Shanahan, RBs have gotten over 400 rush attempts and have also seen over 100 total targets in the last 4 seasons, which means opportunity galore for the running backs. But unfortunately, it's multiple running backs. Jeff Wilson's likely to start the season on the PUP list, so we won't see him till week 7. And the 49ers drafted Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell, signed Gallman, and also have the return of the 29-year-old wizard, Raheem Mostert. Do you think we get a top 24 running back out of San Francisco in season-long drafts this season? And which running back do you think helps buck that trend? And do you want to own beyond this season?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. If you've been listening to me rant at all, or you watched or heard our previous episode with Damian Parsons talking about my boy there, it's Trey Sermon. And if you listened and you drafted him early before all these injuries went down, you are now playing with house money because you drafted him like a positional ADP of, I think, like RB 28 or some shit, like crazy. Now his value is going up like the stonks. You want to sell him if you can get a good return on him.
Definitely.
I'm rolling with him. I think he's the guy to own. I see Craig's not lighting it up in here in the chat because when he's not gonna so I really no way besides the fact that if you listened like last month or 2 months ago, you're now playing with house money with him on a guy that the market is now seeing as a back end RB1, low end RB or high end RB2 that you should be looking at. I mean, seeing what you can get out of him. I'm not opposed to flipping him as much as I love him and would like him on all my dynasty rosters. If the price is right, like Bob Parker says, come on down. Actually, it's Roddy, but come on down.
No, I definitely agree with you with Trey Sermon. I mean, the rest of them, you might get some out of like a guy like Raheem Mostert, Wayne Gallman. Enough of this. What about Wayne Gallman talk? I don't think there's anything to worry about from that perspective. But you did mention, Damian Parsons, but you forgot to mention our boy, the Footwork King, also spoke extremely highly in a previous episode of Trey Sermon, his footwork, his ability. If Trey Sermon can stay healthy, there's no reason not to believe he bucks the trend of top 24 running backs and he can take over. I think it's been prior episodes of the True North Fantasy Football podcast and stuff where, they've mentioned that it's about health. There's people can't stay healthy. They're forced to ride a different hot hand every single week. But if Trey Sermon can stay healthy, he can prove to be the hot hand. He can prove to be the most effective weapon. There's no reason not to believe that he can definitely buck that trend. And he's definitely worth the investment. Currently, his startup is RB26 per FFPC on RotoViz. So that is definitely not a bad spot to start investing for Trey Sermon, in my opinion. And if you did get him in your rookie drafts and the hype is real and you get the right offer, I definitely agree with you. There's no reason not to consider selling, especially based on the history of the San Francisco 49ers and the way they use their running backs. So I can definitely agree with you on that front, Jim. Anything else you want to add?
He's definitely rising. In the last 30 days, he's now ADP 21. So like he's definitely rising. I mean, it's not that big of a gap from when we were telling you to grab him 2 months ago, but it's still it's rising. That's six positions up. So
year to date RB26 and in the last 30 days RB21. 5 days in 5 spots and in that time frame is a pretty decent jump for sure. So we'll move onward and upward out of San Francisco
because everybody likes the sermon or the
the sermon train. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like if you really want to go like dirt cheap and you want to pick up a guy like Elijah Mitchell, I mean, you never know. You just never know what might happen. I mean, it seems that they really like to keep 1 or 2 really old running backs rostered just in case for some reason. But I mean, we'll see what happens. If Raheem Mostert starts out hot, especially in season long or in dynasty, get rid of him fast. Dude's 29 years old.
Starts in dynasty right now. You get rid of him.
Exactly. If he walks on that field week 1, you put him on your trade block and you see who wants to come a knocking for sure. We'll move on to the LA Rams. One of the biggest injuries of the early part of the offseason came from LA, and that was the loss of Cam Akers to the torn Achilles. Akers was due for a nice increase in work as his workload and production ballooned in the last 5 weeks of 2020. Now it's seemingly down to Daryl Henderson, Xavier Jones, and Jake Funk. Henderson put up mediocre numbers in 2020, fighting with Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers for touches, while Xavier Jones comes in as a UDFA from last season and Funk a 7th-round pick in 2021. If camp reports are true, Jones should, quote, carve out a role, and the team seems, quote, all in on Henderson. What do you believe in this backfield, if anything? Does Stafford's arrival and a strong receiving game have you thinking they may move away almost completely from the run, and the Akers loss doesn't help any back to be fantasy relevant?
Yeah, that's kind of what I touched on there. I think it's going to be Matty Stafford's arm and rocket cannons to the moon. I do not think the LA Rams are all in on sorry about that. And we're back. Oh, my kid's playing with their iPad. I don't think they're all in on him, because if they were all in on him, why did they bring in Cam Akers last year? They're not. And they keep bringing in people. Like, don't think it's, like I said earlier, man. If all 3 of the Jake Funk, Railroad, Xavier Jones, and I hear Xavier Jones is the one to own behind Daryl Henderson, and Daryl Henderson somehow between the 3 of them end up with 15 to 20 touches a game, I don't think any of them are going to be fantasy relevant, because they're going to be cannibalizing each other with like 6 touches each. Maybe you want that one guy off the waiver who's going to plot in for a touchdown once in a while. But no, man, like none of these guys are fantasy relevant. And like maybe if you were taking Daryl Henderson as like your handcuff earlier on 2 months ago when you were taking Trey Sermon back then, and I'll reiterate this, then now you're playing with house money. Now when you took Daryl Henderson in the 17th round or the fucking 12th, whatever the hell you were taking him, opposed to the 5th now where he's going in 4th, that's great for you. Like, flip him. I don't know why you wouldn't be trying to flip him on any of your dynasty rosters. You want to be stuck holding Travis Fulgham again? Not saying he's Travis Fulgham. Well, kind of I am. Or you want to be stuck holding Travis Fulgham again? Because what's he doing now? Is he on the
Bear
Eagles
fighting
anymore?
for a roster spot.
There you go. Him and Tebow might be sharing a couch soon.
No. Listen, I'll take it easy on Fulgham owners and say this. He will make the roster, but the way Reagor, Smith, and Watkins have been in training camp, do not expect him to ever be fantasy relevant again. Just saying. You had your chance to sell Fulgham. Don't. Yeah, I agree with you. Don't make the mistake. You see, this is going to be the high point. This is the highest point you're going to get with Daryl Henderson. Unless he balloons week one, gives you a super good week one, then you've been given the golden opportunity. The platter has been shoved in front of you.
It? Like, if you grabbed him in fucking round 12 or later, why push it even more now where he's going as in RB2 ranges now? When you can flip him for exactly what even if it's a lateral move for this year, it's still going to be a forward move going for next year.
Or if you got a guy who's willing to buy for an upside young player in a second, or if someone's that desperate that they'd even throw out a first round pick for you, I don't think you'd even have to think twice. Wouldn't even have to think twice. So definitely something to watch early on in the season, especially. But go grab Xavier Jones, do what you got to do, spend a bit of that free agent blind bid dollars that's just sitting there going to waste if you really want. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I don't think anyone's going to be fantasy relevant in a season-long perspective for sure out of that offense. I think that just turned it more towards passing and more towards Matty Stafford getting 5,000 passing yards. Next up, we're moving on to Arizona. Boys, this is an ugly division for running backs. Can Edmonds take the number one role that was haphazardly given to an inconsistent and ineffective Kenyon Drake last season? Can James Conner stay healthy and play the Kenyon Drake role? Will we finally see Eno Benjamin? There's so many different storylines beginning to unfold in Arizona. Arizona is full of fantasy question marks in the backfield and few who can provide the correct answer. Edmonds has proved often the most efficient back, but still only saw a 45% snap share, 38th among running backs, and a 37% opportunity share, 47th among running backs. He averaged only 10 total touches per game between targets and carries and provides a PPR intrigue. Plus, he ranks 20th in his true yards per catch, which all discounts 10 carries of 10 plus yards, and 6th in yards per touch. James Conner has proved brutally inconsistent and inefficient when healthy. He does, however, present a bit of value in regards to draft position and likely use if it's anywhere near the Drake usage. Then there is, of course, the Murray effect, similar to that of the Lamar effect, who rushed 133 times last season, 93 in 2019, with 500 plus yards in both, plus the all-important red zone carries, third last year and third the year before in red zone carries. What is your personal opinion of that situation?
I'm not really touching that backfield at all. If this is another one, like when Kenyon Drake left and you were left holding Chase Edmonds, who I'm one of them. I was one of them. I immediately tried shopping Chase Edmonds. Immediately, before they brought James Conner in, before anything else. I got a couple places that bit, a couple places that didn't, and the places that didn't, now I'm really left holding the bag. I would get rid of him. Fuck, you got a bag of chips or something? I'll take it, because no, I don't believe in it at all. I just believed in the opportunity of hype when he was the only one there. Now that James Conner is there, I actually have James Conner probably out rushing him if he stays healthy. If they stay healthy, it's a cannibalistic effect in that backfield. And like you said, it's the Murray effect. There is a reason why I have Kyler Murray so high in my quarterback rankings. It's because I do not believe, same reason with Stafford, I do not believe in the run game behind him. But unlike Stafford, he does possess rushing ability where he can just take it off and pull it down himself and get that first down play. So yeah, there's a reason Kyler Murray's in my top 5. And it's because this backfield is atrocious.
No, I definitely agree with you. I have Chase Edmonds in a lot of leagues, and I'm holding and I'm waiting for the right offer. And you know what? He is definitely the most effective back. I just think even in the opportunities he's been given to be the lead back, he just hasn't been hasn't been able to take full advantage of it. And it's really a shame that he hasn't been able to take advantage of it because he's been given that opportunity. And I mean, James Conner in a best ball league where he's going, 100% season long, 100% smash that, because you never know what might happen with him and with the opportunity he might get, because he's going to give you probably a few boom weeks and he's going to bust a whole lot of weeks for you. As far as Chase Edmonds goes, at this point, it's kind of getting a little, it's kind of rich where people, I think he's going just outside the top 24 running backs, like in the Trey Sermon range. And I don't know if the opportunity is enough for me to invest there when there's some higher upside people down the line. So it's certainly different, but the Kyler effect is big. Same for J.K. Dobbins. I will not go for J.K. Dobbins. I might go for Gus Edwards. He's a lot cheaper, but I will not touch J.K. Dobbins because the Lamar Jackson effect is like times 2. He is hyper efficient in the limited touches we've seen.
The reason I'm not touching, the reason I'm like, I love JK, but the reason I'm kind of passing on him isn't because of Lamar. It's more because of the thumper and Gus Edwards in the goal line. Like, I need him to take those goal line touches.
100%.
But yeah, anyway,
you can be like super effective. You can average 6 yards per carry, but if you get like a couple touchdowns, at the running back position, that just hurts you. I don't think that that's something that you really want to own when you got another guy who's produced, I think, over 700 yards the last 2 seasons and gotten the red zone touches. And like, it's just, that's the thing with J.K. Dobbins. That's the situation we're starting to see with Chase Edmonds unfold for sure. And our final stop, probably the sexiest stop we're going to make in the running back room, and that's Seattle. Chris Carson
that's the sexiest?
Well, I mean, I think it's as sexy as it gets, to be completely honest. But Chris Carson seems to be the diamond in the rough among the running backs landing in the dead zone, as we call it. While his injury history has been spotty, he's managed to be top 24 in fantasy points per game for 3 straight seasons. He provides nice premium in his game, including last season ranking 9th in true yards per carry and 8th in yards per route run, making him a nice dual threat, producing on the ground and through the air. The threats behind him have largely struggled with their own health and play inconsistencies. Penny's extremely dangerous as he's torn his ACL and meniscus and was even forced to get cleanup surgery this preseason on the same knee. DJ Dallas has seen limited opportunity, but in 2020 ranked 28th among RBs in fantasy points per opportunity and had a production premium that ranked 19th among running backs, spelling some intriguing upside there if he gets the opportunity. What are you doing in Seattle, as Wilson is also a mobile quarterback? However, he doesn't seem to limit the upside, as his top 10 carries and yards numbers do not correlate with his 20th or worse red zone work among quarterbacks.
Oh man, so like this, I didn't really notice this until we're actually talking and bringing it up, how effective I want like the QBs because in this division, because of how horrible the running backs are. Like, all of these teams are predicated and built on the run. I'm sorry, Pete Carroll, but like, it is not run for you. They're all built on the pass. I know Pete Carroll likes to run like a good run game there when he had Beast Mode back in the day, and then decides to fucking throw on the one. What a loser. But yeah, like, again, like, maybe it's a correlation, probably is why I have Stafford in my top 10, Russell Wilson in my top 10, Kyler Murray in my top 10, top 5, and just not Trey Lance. If Trey Lance was probably to start week 1 and all the way through, or Jimmy G was to probably start, no, I can't put Jimmy G in there. But if Trey Lance was to start week 1 and play all 17, he'd probably be in as a QB1. I'd probably see 4 QB1s in this division. 1/3 of your QB1s could come from this division, which is crazy. Because another one we know is, you're going to get Pat, you're going to get Josh. You're probably going to end up getting who? Maybe who's a young guy? Joe Burrow in there. Like, that's even just with Pat and Josh. There's if Trey Lance is the real deal, and next year that is going, and you put up 4 QB1s in this division with Pat and Josh, that's half your QB1s right there. Like, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I can definitely, I can see it too. Like, there's just the upside of the passing game and the mobility game for 3 of them, and then the passing game, purely the passing game for Matt Stafford. I can see it.
And then, like, the only one that's really capped really is Trey Lance, because I like the rushing on that team too. I mean, if he did play, like, and I don't think he's going to play 17 games this year, but if he does play 17 games, he could be a QB1, a QB, I don't know, top 12 for sure, but I'm not going to put a number on that. But Jimmy G, I can't see. I don't know, because of the rushing, right? Like, I can't put him in. I could put him at like maybe QB 18, QB 17, something like that, like a high end QB 2. But I can't get Jimmy G in my top 12. That's for sure. If he plays a full season, but Trey, I could. So there's that Trey love for you.
A little bit of Trey love to wrap up the running back room. So let's go gold, fool's gold. All started out, I guess. I mean, gold. Oh man, I think gold. I gotta go with Chris Carson, because I mean, he's proved effective. He's proved generally quite effective in comparison to everybody else. The opportunity's there. You know, the opportunity's going to be there. You know that Russell Wilson does not take away those, you know, the red zone carries, the red zone work. So I'm going with Chris Carson with gold, even though, you know, you might only get 2 or 3 more years out of him. It's still probably worth the investment, especially where he may be falling, because he's fallen in that running back dead zone, but he's probably one of the more effective running backs that's fallen in that dead zone, as long as he can stay healthy. Fool's gold for me, oh man, it's such a toss-up for me between Edmonds and Henderson. I'm gonna go with Henderson though, because I mean, if you're investing long-term in Daryl Henderson, there's no reason to invest long-term in Daryl Henderson. You have a wide open buy window. If more running back injuries occur, your window stays open longer. So I'm going with Daryl Henderson, because there's going to be a lot of people who hang on to him thinking maybe he's a long-term answer. Maybe he's a long-term answer as a change of pace back behind Cam Akers when he returns. Maybe we could be completely wrong about this, because Cam Akers could come back and be extremely ineffective. But like people are saying, watch Marlon Mack, because Cam Akers is younger and might be able to bounce back a lot more effectively and better. I mean, we've only seen truly a good example of 5 games from him. So it was hard to say better, but you can say better as well. What about you, Jim? Gold, fool's gold.
Okay, so for a dynasty aspect, I'm saying my gold running back is, who do you think? Trey Sermon, man. You guys should be paying attention. 100%. That's cash money in the bank. If you don't even believe in Trey Sermon, flip him. That's how he is instantly gold. Instantly. You know what I mean? Even if you don't believe him, don't want to see him play a snap on your fucking team, you can cash in that check right now.
If you're in a 12-team league, I'll make it simple. There is someone who believes.
Absolutely.
Out of 11 guys, there's someone who believes if you don't believe.
And my fool, for the exact same reason, Chase Edmonds, because you had a chance to sell him when he was the one and only guy in that backfield. And now you waited along and you got injury-riddled James Conner in there, and his ADP and value has plummeted because of it. Yeah, so that's it, man. That's the exact definition, I think, of gold and fool's gold right there, man, because you had an opportunity to cash out on him and make money on him, and you chose not to.
I love it. So now, before we move into the wide receivers, my boy Jim always loves to throw an emotional toast to family in mid-episode. So, Jim, take it away.
I do, because I feel like, you know, we're family, and people that want to come around and listen, they're family. Right? They don't want to hear that old guy telling rambling stories like your old grandfather on the barbecue, whatever, or the fire pit. So here at Gold Jacket, we take family very seriously. Connor, you know that. I know that. And we know that family doesn't always just stop at the bloodline. Like I said, we're family. We're not blood. It's a word that ensures trust. And it's a word that, well, around here means that I know I can count on you to have my back. And I count on Viridian Global. I count them as family, because they're a part of the Family Football Collective, and that is the exact reason why Viridian Global will have your back. And I don't just mean literally covering your back in the best apparel they could possibly outfit you in. I mean at every step of the way, from finding a brand that fits you, to tracking your order all the way to your doorstep, to making sure that you are fully satisfied at every step of the way. With over 50 brands being a part of the Fantasy Football Collective, including the Gold Jacket Podcast and all of the True North football family, what are you waiting for? Join the family now. Check them out, VeridianGlobal.com.
Love it. And into the wide receiver department, we will go. San Francisco. This is going to be an interesting one. The 49ers had injuries literally at every position last season. I shit you not, every position. And wide receiver was no exception to that. Ayuk missed 4 games, Debo 9 games. Ayuk benefited greatly from the injuries, emerging as a primary receiving weapon and ranked 17th among wide receivers in per game average. A worrisome stat to me is Ayuk splits with and without Kittle, where he sees almost 6 less points per game, 3 less receptions, and 5 less targets. Over the last 2 years, the number is similar for Debo as well, with and without Kittle, limiting Debo's upside as well. Ayuk feels rich given the sample size that exists with and without Kittle and what he did in those situations, and he provides little inefficiency numbers if you deep dive. Debo saw the stronger target rate, which also ranked 10th among wide receivers. His yards per route run ranked 11th among wide receivers, and after the catch, he ranked 14th in yards produced. The difference maker being his extremely low touchdown rate versus Ayuk, who had more touchdowns at the wide receiver position and in general. 49ers wide receivers have also been targeted in the bottom 5 of the league over the last 3 seasons by percentage. What are you doing with San Francisco 49er wide receivers?
Well, I find myself quite often in drafts pondering a question on whether I want to take Deontay Johnson or Brandon Ayuk. Half the time I end up having to coin flip it because really they are 2 exceptional wide receivers, 2 young guns. Both have some talent around them that might be preventing them from exploding on the scene more often than not. More often than not, I end up finding myself take Deontay in that situation because I believe a little bit more in Ben than I do in Jimmy G. And yeah, you know, man, like I know they're going to get somebody else after, but like for this year, I find myself, and like with the splits, I find myself, I think like Deontay could probably be the one, but hi, honey. I think for the most part, Ayuk is a dog, man. Like he has a sick wingspan too. That's something that gets overlooked. His arm span is absolutely monstrous. He has a nose for the end zone. I think he's actually going to outproduce Debo. I think he's going to make him not irrelevant, but second burner because I find them play a kind of similar role. And then you bring up the splits with and without Kittle. Well, tell me a year you haven't seen, or tell me a year you have gone without not seeing Kittle, where he has played a full fantasy season for you, and you haven't been wondering and missed a couple games here and there. So, yeah, I think you know, for a rookie to put on what he's done, I'm buying him for Dynasty. I like him. I think his price is only going to get more, especially when he does make Debo irrelevant, because then you're going to be looking at Kittle and Ayuk in the passing game.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see the opinion of Ayuk. I've just been off the Ayuk train the entire time. I only own him in a league because I didn't realize I was on the clock and I timed out, and it made me take Ayuk. It force picked him, so that would be the only league that I actually have him in. So I'm kind of out on him. I think there could be a value in Debo if he can stay healthy, especially from a yards after the catch perspective as well. I mean, there's lots to like about Ayuk. I think that sometimes people forget how good Debo is after the catch as well, and they think about just Ayuk and what he can bring as an athlete and forget about what Debo can bring as an athlete as well. But the good thing is the room's kind of clean, pretty empty for them. It's pretty much those 2. After that, I mean, you could look at a guy like Richie James or whatever if you really want. But I mean, that would be like, you know, best ball late, like last round we're talking.
When you miss out on Travis Fulgham?
Yeah, maybe. There you go. There you go. That's the spirit. Next up, we'll head to LA to the Rams. This is definitely a really good one. The Rams have passed the ball over 55% of the time the last 3 straight seasons, and the Akers injury almost makes it inevitable that they go over 60% this season for the second time in the last 4 years. The group is headlined by Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, as you kind of alluded to earlier. Woods has been a top 15 wide receiver for 3 straight seasons behind the arm of Jared Goff, including points per game averages of 17, 14, and 16. He's seen over 130 targets in 3 straight and 90 receptions in the last 2. His yards per reception dropped exponentially, same as Cooper Kupp with the Jared Goff situation, making it a missed 1,000-yard season last season. Cooper Kupp fell off last season after a monster 2019, but has still seen 125 targets or more in 2 straight seasons. His yards per reception took the dip as well. I'm going to throw the blame on Jared Goff in the shade there. With pathetic average depth of targets, hopefully Stafford can turn that around. There are also intriguing pieces and weapons like Deshaun Jackson, Tutu Atwell, Van Jefferson. What's your take here? Obviously, we know your belief on can Stafford turn things around, but outside of the big 2, do you see any other receiver that intrigues you?
No, and I don't even have the big 2 as wide receiver 1s, just so you know. I don't have either of them cracking the top 12. I have them both cannibalizing each other to sit right around good wide receiver 2s at 14 and 18 respectively. You can check out the website to see who I have ranked higher when that comes out. But if it's Bobby Woods or if it's Cooper Kupp, because you know what, Cooper Kupp dominates though. Like his bread and butter, his money is the red zone. Really, like he has that knack for the red zone. I like them. I don't know exactly what their ADPs are. I know they're not wide receiver 2s when I've been drafting them, so I like that. Little gold jacket thing that we like to think here is, we're cheap. So I find myself drafting Robert Woods more often because, well, I love Bobby Trees and he's cheaper than Cooper Kupp, I've been finding. And I mean, they're relatively really close, but I usually end up waiting to see which one goes first and then I'll take the other. 99% of the time I'm left with Bobby Woods, man. So I love him. He's a great guy. But outside of that, I see no fantasy relevance from any other of those wide receivers. Tutu Atwell, Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson might light you up for like week 1, week 2. That'd be it. But no, I think it's those 2 guys and those 2 guys alone. Van Jefferson, we'll see a little bit of run. Pick your poison on which week that's going to be. That's going to be like playing your Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle. Fucking have fun finding out which week that's going to be. So like I said, best ball maybe, but like even then, I'm still rather take the 2 and then bounce in another team. So
year to date, FFPC, Cooper Kupp wide receiver 30, Robert Woods 32. So they are pretty much side by side, and you like you said, you pick your poison and you do what you want there. Van Jefferson, man, he's got hands like glue. He can run some really nice routes, but otherwise, like you said, he's like probably a far more effective Pringle or Robinson. When you throw the ball his way, he's definitely catching that ball. He's definitely going to make something happen. But the weeks where he might boom and give you that, that feeling like something might happen are going to be hard to choose which one, because he's fighting Cooper Kupp, he's fighting Robert Woods, he's fighting Tyler Higby, he's just fighting other pieces, maybe Daryl Henderson. You're fighting for targets. There's a lot more targets to go around to Woods and Kupp, but they are going at extremely, I find, pretty valuable spots at 30 and 32 per FFPC. Next up, we're going to Arizona. Arizona, welcome to the DeAndre Hopkins show. Do you trust any other wide receiver in Arizona? Hopkins has dominated the target share with 6 straight 150-plus target seasons, 3 straight 100-plus reception seasons, 4 straight 1,100-yard seasons. He was number 2 in targets and target rate among wide receivers last year, nearly 30% of his team's total targets. Kirk and Isabella have boomed, but mainly busted. AJ Green is coming off what I would say is statistically one of the worst 100 target seasons in NFL history. 47 receptions for 523 yards. I think it was 102 targets. Plus, they drafted Rondale Moore, who I see as a weapon, not a fantasy piece. Are you D-Hop or bust in Arizona despite the air raid offense?
Yeah, I'm D-Hop or bust, as you put it. Because the guy, one, catches almost everything thrown his way. Like I said, he's put up some numbers with some pretty shitty QBs before that. Two, he's going to command an insane target share, market share, whatever you want. I see like really it being DeAndre Hopkins and then to a lesser extent AJ Green maybe, but I don't see AJ Green even cracking like 100 targets. But I see it pretty split up between AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore. But it's like you said, you put it perfectly, man. Nuke or bust, man. So I'm all about that. I'm all about nuke or bust. He's in my top 12 wide receivers.
We can definitely make it quick and painless there. I know a lot of people talk about Rondale Moore. There are certain people who you have to watch and you have to say, this is a weapon. There's certain people you watch and you say, this is a fantasy piece. And you need to figure out and differentiate weapon from fantasy asset. He is not a fantasy asset. He is a weapon, and I will go down on that. Same with Tutu Atwell. I will go to my grave with those guys, undersized players. Kadarius Toney as well. I mean, if you can get a value out of these guys, trade them. Trade them before they break your heart. That's my belief there. Final stop is Seattle. This is a fun wide receiving room if we've ever seen one. It's the team where you ask yourself, do I take the value or the high-priced asset? DK's going wide receiver 4, Lockett wide receiver 37. Lockett's been a top 24 wide receiver in 3 straight seasons, but in 48 total games has been a wide receiver 1 only 9 times and a wide receiver 2 10 times. So 19 out of 48 times he has produced top 24 numbers for you. Lockett is the picture of volatility. Lockett had 123 of his 265 PPR points in only 3 games last season. Metcalf was the wide receiver 7 last season with a bit more stability, 4 wide receiver 1 weeks, 4 wide receiver 2 weeks, and only producing less than 10 PPR in 4 games, while Lockett did that 7 times. Pick your poison. Which one are you going with?
I wish I lived in a world where they both finished as wide receiver 1s, fantasy finishes. The odds are probably not going to happen with that. With DK probably finishing as a wide receiver 1, Tyler Lockett probably finishing as a mid-range wide receiver 2. I hope to God he finishes as more close to like 10 to 12. But as I alluded to earlier, I am cheap, so I will take the cheaper one. Most parts, but I also find like, so I draft differently too than a lot of people I find, where like I don't, maybe not a lot of different people, but like I don't see the appeal in grabbing, unless it's a start 3 wide receivers, man. Like I don't get the appeal in taking these like DK Metcalfs in round 3, shit like that. Like I'd rather hammer running backs and quarterbacks, and then take like my fucking shot at young wide receivers rounds like 7 through 11 or 7 through 12 and just take 5 of them in a row. Boom, 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 boom. That's just me. So I don't really find myself with a lot of DK. So that's more the reason why I find myself with a lot more Tyler Lockett. But I do feel the sting when 3 of those games he's blowing up and 9 of those games he's whomping.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely more of a best ball asset than a dynasty or a season-long asset, because he can be excruciatingly painful for you in that regard. So gold and fool's gold it is. I'll kick it off. Gold for me, DeAndre Hopkins. Man, you cannot tell me that in this whole division, you look at everything that you can't say DeAndre Hopkins is your damn gold. Kyler Murray is going to use him as a safety blanket. He's going to use him as his main target. He's going to use him as a weapon. He's going to use him as every word you want to use. DeAndre Hopkins is just gold all the way to Canton. Fool's gold for me is going to have to be, I stand by Brandon Ayuk, man. I've been saying sell him. I've been just against Brandon Ayuk. I think the Kittle effect is more than people want to admit, and I stand by the Kittle effect. I know it's a small sample size, but it's also a small sample size for the people who are now drafting him as a top 20 wide receiver. you're rolling on a small sample size and you're rolling on a potential risk there. So that's why I'm going Brandon Ayuk as my fool's gold.
Man, I love it. I'm going to mimic you with the gold. I don't see how it could be anybody in this division but Nuke. I would listen to arguments for DK, but like, come on, man. DK's
DK's being drafted before
I know.
Hopkins.
That is correct. That is correct.
So no.
But yeah, so I got Nuke for my fool's gold. I think I'm going to go man, I don't know. Because like they're so goddamn cheap, but I hate them so much. Cooper Kupp, man, I hate him so much, but I can't because like, even he's going to produce better than what like you're drafting him at. So, man, that pains me to say this. I can't say Ayuk. I can't. So Debo. I'll say Debo.
I'm happy. I'm happy that Travis isn't watching, or hopefully he's not watching for you to just bash Cooper Kupp like that as well.
I retracted a bit. I said he'll finish better.
Retracted a bit, but he's still in the fool's gold conversation. We have to remember that. Just for listeners out there, DK Metcalf, year to date, FFPC number 4, DeAndre Hopkins number 10. I can tell you right now, DK Metcalf will never get more targets than DeAndre Hopkins as long as Hopkins is in this league. So let's remember that. If we're going to talk about opportunity, and if we're going to talk about a guy who produces with opportunity, just saying, DeAndre, please, at QB at wide receiver 10, going as a 45th pick, take him, run with it, just run with it. Finally, we're going to stop at the tight ends. Luckily for us, this isn't an overly sexy division from the tight end perspective either. We'll start with George Kittle. Obviously, like you alluded to, you kind of have to wonder what games he's going to miss, when he's going to be healthy and play. He missed 8 games last season, still finished as a top 20 tight end. If that doesn't scream top 3 or bust when drafting tight ends, I don't know what else will. It is the definition of volatility from fantasy. In the 2 prior seasons, he was a tight end 3, both seasons producing 24 top 12 weeks at the tight end position in 30 games. Obviously, based on my prior comment, not hard to do. Kittle ranked number 3 in air yard share, and his target rate ranked 4th among tight ends last season, despite his injuries. Plus, his yards per route run ranked number 1 among tight ends. He is still the alpha in San Francisco, and he might be able to fit into the top 3 tight ends. I still think he fits in there, even despite the situation with our boy there in Atlanta. And he doesn't require the touchdown spike like some tight ends. He's yet to have more than 5 touchdowns in a season.
Yeah, that blows my mind too, man. Like if he gets that touchdown spike, like almost like Diggs last year, right? What Ty always tells us, Diggs producing as the wide receiver 3 behind Adams and Hill or whatever without the touchdowns, or keeping up with them without the touchdowns. Like that's fucking insane, man. Yeah, I definitely think he's a tight end, top 3 tight end. I'm not going to tell you if he's 2 or 3. You can debate that yourself. If you've listened to podcasts, though, you know how I feel. You know where I have him ranked.
He's probably 3.
He's 3. Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't have Kyle Pitts cracking the top 3?
No, I have Kyle Pitts cracking the top 12.
Ooh, I hope Josh logged off before that comment got you thrown in there.
I said top 12. I'm giving you tight end 1. I'm not telling you where it is. The little teasers there. He's up there though, but let's just say he needs to return so much on his ADP to get your investment this year. Kyle Pitts is unbelievable. But yeah, I like Kittle, man. Of course I like Kittle. Tight end premiums, man. Like, yeah, obviously he will be the future, I think, behind Kelsey when Kelsey finally kicks it up. And it's going to be Kittle that you want, kicking out those doors for the tight end ones, just like it was Kelsey you wanted when you knew Gronk was going to step down. Like you could see it coming when Gronk was there, giving you these tight end ones year after year after year. And you could see when Kelsey was just like creeping in. You're like, he's going to get it. He was tight end 3. He's going to get it. And then it's just need Gronk to leave. And then boom, Kelsey, 5 years in a row, tight end 1. You could probably expect to see that, especially like if San Francisco doesn't really address like the weapons. Like, you know what I mean? Like if Debo ends up moving on, goes on, they don't really get like, you just have Kittle and Ayuk and like Richie James and like a bunch of like okay guys that can do something for a football field but not fantasy relevant. Then yeah, of course he's going to keep producing. Why? How couldn't he not? Just like Darren Waller, he's the only fucking option in town, right?
You don't believe in, you know, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens slash Brian Edwards, you know?
Oh, I thought you were talking about. Yeah, I believe in him. I like Brian Edwards. I liked him coming out. I know it's in the AFC West show, but I liked him coming out. He was good, and like he's a good dart toss, man. He's fucking free right now, and if he returns value, that's great. That's bringing it back to Nostradamus' max roster value building. That's how you do it. That's a guy that is free and can potentially return some sort of value for you next year. But sorry about that tangent. Let's
and
but it's not Jalen Hurts season.
Yeah,
either,
no, I'm
off.
thinking about banning Coach Craig from the comment section. Jalen Hurts season, just stop. If anything, it's just the volume's going to go to the running backs. If all else fails in a Kyle Shanahan offense, it just goes to the running backs. Next up, LA. As always, Tyler Higby was the flavor of the summer last season after finishing as the tight end 8 in 2019. He fell flat finishing as the tight end 18 in 2020 and was out-targeted by Gerald Everett 62-60. With Everett now out of the picture, can Higby return to top 10 tight end form, or does he now have a new athletic tight end to compete with? Higby has some intrigue, ranking 12th in fantasy points per route and 8th in fantasy points per target, showing his efficiency, but he requires a hell of a lot more than 60 targets to turn this into anything worth getting excited about. And can we guarantee that with all the new passing weapons and Stafford in town, that you want to invest even tight end 16 capital in him where he's going right now?
Who was saying to probably sell Tyler Higby previously when you had him at a tight end 8? Please don't log off, Craig. We love you. Oh yeah, that was us. We were telling you to sell him because he was nowhere near going to produce those tight end 1 numbers for you. We actually told you Gerald Everett was the tight end to own there too, and he's gone. But yeah, now there's another guy there. I wonder who that could be. Oh yeah, Jacob fucking Harris. Yeah, that's the tight end I'd rather own it in LA Rams for dynasty purposes, not season long. I don't think he's going to do shit this year for your fantasy. But yeah, I'm not saying Higby is either. And if it, like Mike, Jacob Harris is the shit, coach. Yeah, absolutely, man. Because he's going to eat it. We've seen it. We've seen what athletic tight ends can do to Tyler Higby. Right, Gerald Everett, he's an athletic tight end, and he snapped him. He out-ted him. And like the other thing is like Jacob Harris isn't even really a tight end. Like you look at him, he's registered as a tight end. He's not a tight end. Like you go pull up his stats, you pull out his stats, you pull up his height and his weight, and you tell me if he is a tight end or a slot receiver, just based on his
jumbo slot receiver.
Jumbo slot receiver, very small tight end, very small tight end.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
So I don't think if you see him on the field, don't think he's doing dirty play work in the blocking.
No, definitely. I definitely agree with you on that point. Next up is going to be Arizona, and we're going to make this as short and sweet as humanly possible. We had to hit up the player profiler prior to this game or the show. Well, I had to figure out who they even had at tight end. I have a simple statistic. The Cardinals were a bottom 5 team in tight end usage and did little to prove they have a plan to change that. They targeted the tight end position on 12.5% of total targets, 1 of 5 teams to target less than 75 times. One of those teams is definitely coming out of that dungeon as the Patriots actually invested in the position. The Panthers seem to want to do something with Dan Arnold or Tremble. They seem to want, there's some teams who seem to want to go towards the tight end. For me,
like Chicago,
they don't give a shit about the tight end position in Arizona. So please stay away. Coach Craig, thank you for sharing Max Williams and Daryl Daniels' names. For anyone who wants to know the names of the tight ends to avoid like the plague, please see the comment section.
For what it's worth, I didn't even know they had Daryl Daniels on the roster until about 3 minutes before we went live. I said, "Oh yeah, they got Max Williams." I go, "Hold on a second, I think they got a second one." I go, "Oh yeah, Daryl Daniels." What do you know?
We told you we maybe throw some jabs, make a little joke about it. Why not? But I mean, it was quick. It was painless.
Absolutely. Let's roll on to that guy that we kind of touched on a little bit in LA.
Yeah,
but now he's in a
Gerald
different
Everett,
place.
definitely. So I mean, the Seahawks ranked middle of the pack as far as tight end usage. If you believe that the hype coming from Coach Carroll, he's saying that Gerald Everett's going to break out. But last time we thought about trusting a coach speak about a breakout, that was Keyshawn Vaughn, who is probably barely going to make the roster now in Tampa Bay. So if there's one thing I've learned about trusting older coaches and their coach speak, it's completely don't trust them. But outside of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I don't know if there's passing options that I really want to take part in Seattle. Although in like season long and best ball as a second or a third tight end option, Gerald Everett, he can kind of intrigue me. He's athletic. He's somebody I can see Russell Wilson really liking. What are your thoughts on the tight end situation in Seattle?
I like Gerald Everett. I've always liked Gerald Everett. I thought he was a very good athletic tight end, just never really got the opportunities. And it's kind of funny because now he's in another team that has two good wide receivers, and he's gonna be the third option. At least now he's got a better quarterback though to throw him the ball. What's his ADP? Real quick, if you don't mind me asking.
Let me pull that up for you. If you don't have it there.
I do not have it here. I do not have it here. I don't think he's going to make a real big impact, though, in the fantasy game. That's for sure. Like, I can't see him cracking like 700-800 yards or anything like that. Where he can make a
20.
Where he can make a good divot is in the red zone, but then he's going to be eating targets from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So I'm not really sure if anybody really wants to hear that. I don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant. Again, not cracking my top 12 at all. And actually, Tyler Higby comes closer than he does anyway. But yeah, so.
As a tight end 20 in a super volatile position, I mean, you'd be looking at him as your second, maybe a third tight end. I mean,
taking three tight ends, you're fucking
nuts. Well, I mean, if you want to take
three
tight
ends,
I mean, whatever. Yeah, you could stream it. I mean, like at the end of the day, though, it's such a volatile position that like maybe let's see how things start out during the season. He is on a team where there's two wide receivers who you definitely would trust a lot more. But to the same point, there isn't really much of a third or a fourth option. So how much passing offense is going to be there and how much of the pie can he take? He could become someone who you add through the waiver wire. If you are carrying two tight ends and your second tight end isn't doing anything and Gerald Everett starts doing something, he could be one of those, those darlings who could actually emerge and do something. Because as we know, there are a lot of teams out there who pass the ball a lot. And, we talked about the running game in Seattle. There's a chance that this team could still be throwing the ball a lot. We know Russell Wilson throws the ball a lot. So, I mean, there's a potential.
What I like about him, too, is like, man, there's potential for Tyler Lockett to miss time, too. And if he misses time, then he's going to see a significant increase in targets thrown his way. I know somebody going down doesn't just equate targets directly to the next person coming up, whether it be the wide receiver that's stepping up for that person. And it's usually ended up being dissipated through tight ends and running backs. So I would definitely expect him to see an increased bump there if one of them went down, because he doesn't have too much of a path of resistance to fantasy viability. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's three or four good. That's not like Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? It's not like Pittsburgh could lose a wide receiver and still go two fantastic wide receivers in sets. You know what I mean? Like, you lose one of those guys, you're going to be leaning on one of your tight ends. I would expect a lot more. But anyway, man, I'm ranting again. Everybody knows this is what ends up
It's the
happening.
best way to
Probably
do it.
don't
It's the
like
best
They
way
hate
to
the
wrap it
rants.
up. But we will wrap it up at here with your gold and your fool's gold. I mean, it's simple for me. Gold is Kittle. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter the way you swing it. It's got to be Kittle. Fool's gold. If anybody is drafting an Arizona Cardinals tight end, you are a damn fool. And that's going to be my fool's gold there, because Higby is going at tight end 16 and Everett's going at tight end 20. They could easily outperform those ADPs in such a volatile position.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to echo those sentiments pretty loud there with Kittle as my gold. And any, whether it be Daniels or Williams, who cares which one you pick up, any Cardinal tight end, even AJ Green as your tight end for the Cardinals. They're the fools for sure.
It's almost as bad as Jacksonville, who rightfully so released Tim Tebow today after those unceremonious 2 block attempts that are just all over the internet right now.
Well,
so
there's definitely one guy that's kind of this little sigh of relief there, eh? Doesn't have to pay him $25K in jerseys.
I love it. Oh, man, I love it. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening and supporting us. We forgot to mention, this is episode number 50. I mean, I know we aren't going to do anything special for 50, but in 50 more episodes, so in 50 weeks, check back with us. We'll do something fun and exciting for episode number 100. I know the True North Fantasy Football crew brought on Justin Boone for their 100th. Maybe we'll get somebody cool like that. You never know. Maybe you'll just see these 2 faces for episode 100. But, I mean, this is cool. 50 episodes. We've been doing this now, 50 episodes deep. We literally started as 2 guys who knew not a damn thing about each other but a Twitter handle. And we connected through the True North Fantasy Football chat. And Jim wanted to start a podcast. He didn't know the direction to go. I've had my Eagles podcast for quite a while. We decided, let's connect. Let's start podcasting. It turned into a stream. And here we are today, 50 episodes later. So much love to my boy Jim. Much love to True North Fantasy Football for bringing us together and for hosting us for 50 crazy episodes and to, hundreds more, I would hope. For sure.
Absolutely, man. 50 episodes deep, and you still see my kids running around. You still see me stiff arming them out of the fucking drain. Nah, man, I love them. They're good. I've been having a blast here.
We're working on feel free to go fund me. We're trying to get locks on Jim's doors in his house, but we'll see what happens there. But yes, definitely. Follow Jim at Gold Jacket QBs. Follow me at Connor10 as always, and make sure you follow the True North Fantasy Football crew. Most of the tags are up there in the corner. TrueNorthFFB.com, at TrueNorthFFB on Twitter, TNFF Network on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. Be one of the over 300 subscribers on YouTube, and be prepared because there are 5 days a week of streams coming your way, starting with the Jet Sweep show coming back with Josh Smokey Hell Nelson and Will Harris, one of the co-founders of Viridian Global, who will kick it off on Monday and us on Tuesday in our usual time slot. Next week, we are hitting up the NFC North, and we will see you next Tuesday.
I'm going to rant about Irv.